on. We're on the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. My name is Mark Ross, and with me this evening is Jim Shoopack. Is it
Yes, sir.
Shoopack or Shoopak?
Shoopack. The irony is, it's a Ukrainian name. It would originally be spelled Czupak. And when my relatives came over from the Ukraine back in the day and went through Ellis Island, it was actually Chupak. But then I guess the gentleman at Ellis Island said, all right, Chupak, all right, we're going to spell it Shoopack. Shoopak, welcome to America. Good luck.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much how it wound up happening.
All right.
So,
All right. Shoopack it is then, sir. Jim, you are a teacher and a high school soccer coach, but more importantly, you are a mental health advocate. And you advocate from firsthand experience dealing with severe depression, correct?
yes. Yes,
All right.
sir.
Jim, let's get started. Give me your backstory, your how life was for you growing up, and set the foundation for this discussion.
Sure. I was born in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Fortunately, both of my parents are still here. Very loving, caring individuals. Um, my dad was more, how would I put it, the heavy, if you will, but not in a bad way. He was firm but fair. We'll call it that. Like both of my parents firm, but but very caring, loving individuals. Um, they got me and my brother involved in playing sports when we were younger. Played baseball, played little league, played teener league, did the basketball thing when I was younger. When I was seventh, eighth grade, I wanted to play football. My dad played football. He was a running back. Well, being his son, I also have a running back body. Like I'm stocky and, my legs are like almost like a sprinter's body to a degree, if you will, with the people have commented that I have big calf muscles and, it is what it is, but I had a seizure when I was about that age. And a grand
How
mal
old were
seizure.
you?
When the seizure took place, 13. I was
13.
about 12, 13. Yeah, 12 or 13 I was. But right away. And so what wound up happening was, fortunately, my brother was right next to me because I remember watching TV and I'll never forget it. I was in my parents' it was my house at the time too. And I was watching baseball. Never forget Nolan Ryan, if you remember him back in the day, one of the best
I
pitchers
remember.
that ever,
Yep.
like
Yep.
he was pitching, and it was just something random that I remember. And then the next thing, um, I'm on my bed and I have this throbbing headache. I mean, it was like unlike anything I've ever had before. And my parents are there, my brother's there, and it's like, what happened? And my brother, my dad, my mom were all like, you had a seizure. And I fell over. I guess I must have hit my head or something. And then my face turned blue. Well, obviously, like if your face turns blue, you're not getting any oxygen.
Correct.
Fortunately, my brother was there, and he went to get my dad. My dad picked me up, put me on the bed, and I, like, in reality they should have but they didn't know what they didn't know. Like, you should, now it's like, let the person convulse where they are, protect their head. But obviously, as a parent, and you don't know what's going on, you don't want to see anything happen to your kid, just like I wouldn't want to see anything happen to any of my family or students or anything. So, but they put me on the bed, which is a soft place, which was good. But I wound up waking up, and they basically said that I had a seizure. And um, my brother said again, he's like, "Yeah, unfortunately, I was here." And my mom and dad said that too, because they said your face was turning blue. Like I must have been like maybe I swallowed my tongue or something. Pardon me. And which happens, and that's one of the things they say to once you're monitoring a person who's having a seizure is just kind of watch for the tongue, because it is, I don't want to say common, but it's not rare either, so it does happen,
Right.
and but yeah, so so my dad and mom, they were like, well, I went to the neurologist and he said, Jim, it's probably not a good idea you play football because the helmet, and I said, I get it, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, well, what about soccer? He said, well, you have to head the ball. I said, that might not be good. Well, then they said, well, unless you could be a goalie. Well, lo and behold, goalkeeping chose me because I've been a goalie for since I was 13. I've been a goalkeeper coach, assistant varsity coach. Like I coached the other people on the field, but when it's time for the goalkeepers to get their training, go with Shoop. Like that's my nickname. The girls call me that. And, yeah, that's just So that's pretty much what happened. And I was pretty good in high school, and I could have played in college, but I got an academic scholarship. So, weighing it like, am I going to play professional? No, the chances of that happening are slim to none. And slim is on the next bus out of town, if you know what I mean. So basically, so I kind of went the academic route, and because I had to keep certain grades and what have you. And I'm thinking
Sure.
like, I would love to continue to play soccer at a collegiate level, but free scholarship, like free tuition is a big deal, and so I wound up doing writing on sports in the college newspaper and college radio and stuff, so it was, I worked it in other ways, but yeah, we would travel we'd go to Florida with my parents, go to Disney World or Niagara Falls, just local trips as well. Like Sunday was always our day for a ride. Like my brother, my mom, dad, it was like to a degree. I remember, like when you're a tween, if you will, even in your teenage years, it's like, oh, do we have to go for a ride? And it would be,
Yeah.
not far,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
now I miss it. It's stuff that like I wish I appreciated more at the time. And like, but yeah, so like we were very family oriented. Like I was
That's
very
good.
blessed to have that.
That's
Would
good.
go visit my grandparents. They lived down in Schuylkill County. Well, they did. They unfortunately passed away years ago. But Schuylkill County, where I don't know if you're familiar with the brewery or the alcoholic beverage called Yingling. It's a big one out this way at least. They're based in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. That's where my dad was born, and that's where they were from the next town over. But if I tell them St. Clair, people are like, I don't know where St. Clair is. If I say Pottsville, where the Yingling breweries, a lot of people are like, oh, I know where that is, or at least I've heard of it.
Yeah.
And it's not far from Hershey, Pennsylvania, or Harrisburg.
Okay.
So that sometimes gives people also I'd say within maybe an hour of,
Okay.
Hershey, Harrisburg.
Cool. Jim, when did your depression start?
Well, the first bout I had it was in February of 2001. I can recall it vividly because I was actually at a Seder supper. Like I'm Catholic, but they were doing a Seder supper for Lent. And I happened to go, and I worked at my church at the time. I was youth leader at my church. I loved the position, but it wasn't one that would necessarily give you, let's just say I worked for to go to heaven, not for this world as much with finances, if you will. It just wasn't one that was going to put a lot of money in the bank account. But I greatly enjoyed it. It provided opportunity. But it was February 2001, and it just all of a sudden out of the blue happened, and I couldn't explain it. Like it was one of those things where I'm just like I am now. Like, we were kind of joking around before it's like that. Maybe um not as jovial per se, but like I'm still, happy go lucky sort of person. At that point in
So
time. Now
it started subtly.
just out of yeah, and you know, um I didn't realize at the time that what I had a name because I just wasn't really familiar with depression at that time. I wasn't familiar with um, anything along those lines. So it was very to say it was scary would be an understatement. Like it would be I don't even like to say that it would be scary that it's scary because it was frightening to the millionth degree because I'm living literally inside my head. I have thoughts of like you know, you're worthless, you you suck, pardon my friend, you know, like,
Yeah, yeah,
and far
yeah,
worse, like, you know, and you know, like, you, there's something wrong with you, like, you should, you know, kill yourself, like, and that's not who I am. That's not that, no, that's not the person that I am.
right.
And it's very scary because the stigma of mental illness, the mental health, well, not mental health, but mental illness is, you know, I see on the news, not news, but like maybe in movies or TV shows, if you mentally ill, they put in a straitjacket, you wind up going to the sixth floor of some hospital. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if I go to the hospital and I tell them that I'm going out of my mind, is that going to happen to me? Like, so that kind of prevented anything further from happening, like any further proactivity, I guess, if you want to call it that. Just because I didn't want to wind up like away from my family, my friend, you know, but it was very scary. And you know, eventually as time went on, a friend of mine, and actually he was online. It was one of those, if you remember the old AOL instant messengers from
Yeah,
back in the day.
yeah,
Um, uh, a good friend of mine from childhood introduced me to him, and you know we would talk here and there, blah blah blah, you know, online, whatever. And when you are depressed, you kind of like, I kind of stayed on the computer. I just wanted to be left alone. So I think well, he did, not that I think, I know he noticed a difference in my behaviors, even online. Because as time went on, this was a good, I would say maybe in April or May, he noticed, he was like, dude, are you okay? Like, you haven't been acting yourself. Now, this is, mind you, through communication of just AOL Instant Messenger. So we're just typing away here. And, you know, you have to remember, I'm having these thoughts of suicide. I'm having these thoughts of just negative thoughts, worthlessness. I can't get up. I'm literally like on my sofa most of the day. If it weren't for my dog at the time, I don't know if I would have gotten up at all. Um, you know, the only reason I would get up was to go to the bathroom. That was really like it, um, you know, no interest in really doing anything at all. I would go to work only because I could go in late, so it would take me sometimes till 1 in the afternoon to just labor in, but the days would take forever. Like it
mm,
was like, um, say a minute, pardon me, a second would take like a minute would take like an hour would take like a day would take like a week, like it just, to process everything. So there might be a time where I would look at the clock and say, okay, well, like for now, you know, 8:20. Well, I might look like, I don't know, like what I perceive to be an hour later, and I'd look down and it'd be 8:23. And like, just to get through my head, like it was awful. Like,
mm,
um, very foggy, very like, and there was no color. And what I mean by that, like, you know, I look around my house here, looking at you, like looking at, you know, the pictures, beautiful pictures. Yeah, like I see, you know, it's not just in black and white; it's vivid, like vivid color. When during the depression, it was almost like I'm looking through a pinhole, and that's all I could see. And it was, there was no color, no nothing, no, really, it was just
black and
colorless,
white.
like almost like, yeah, if you remember the old black and white TVs where, and with the static where it was, you know, like when there was something wrong with it, and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that, like
yeah.
it
The
was like
staticky.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
It would, and there's times it would like be, you know, a little less staticky, times a little more but it was just like that, and just consistently living like that. But there was no comedies playing, if you will, you know what I mean? Like it was just, the TV was on, but barely, you know, like, so my brain was functioning, but barely.
Mm.
Um, and then, you know, when my friend told me, I'm sorry, were you going to ask something? I apologize.
Oh, yeah. I was about to. Well, I'm asking you. You stated in our initial conversation that you experienced visual hallucinations. What
Yes.